into the heart of what truly matters, our families. Healthy families make healthy societies. I'm Randy.
And I'm Leslie. We're diving deep into the powerful insights of Dr. Randy's groundbreaking book, The Family Legacy: Shaping Culture from the Inside Out.
Hear inspiring stories and strategies to transform your family. We'll explore topics like communication, forgiveness, healing, parenting, marriage. We'll cover it all.
We'll have provoking conversations with experts, coaches, and real-life families who are benefiting from intentional family building.
This podcast isn't just about theories, it's about tools that you can implement today.
We all come from families, so this podcast is for you.
Join us on this incredible family journey. Subscribe now as we learn to do family as God designed.
Transforming families one episode at a time. Remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end. Let's go.
Hi there. Welcome to Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. I'm Randy.
I'm Leslie.
And we are so really blessed today to have good friends and partners in the Family Reformation Project Ministry and so much more. Leslie's going to give them a formal introduction here in a moment. But I want you to listen today very closely, because what you're going to hear is a couple of people who are some of the most authentic, real, and engaged people around doing the work. And when we say doing the work, we mean
live it to give it.
Yeah, living it to give it, around going after God, going after a healthy marriage, after raising their family and building. And of course, they're business people, they're entrepreneurs, nonprofit leaders, and they're helping us. They're just wonderful people. But what I want you to know is they have a message, I believe, today that we need to hear in this hour. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let them bring it. But it really is something. I'm finding more and more people isolated in this world and in their walk and their journey. And I think the message they're going to bring today is going to encourage you and hopefully give you some hope, and maybe poke you a little bit to do some things that are really in your best interest. So with that, why don't you give them welcome? Let's bring them in.
I'm just going to read right off. This is just a summary of their story, and it's good. So here it is. After a random coffee date in the summer of 2019, Adam recounts telling his friends who played Mr. and Mrs. Matchmaker, "I think I just met my wife." He'd already been in a relationship with Randy for nearly a decade around coaching, and Adam had an interesting coaching call topic that day. Adam and Laureen married in March of 2020 and quickly realized God's call on their life for marriage and family. And despite not being married long, they've had their fair share of tragedy. They lost their first son, Liam Saxby Sherwood, while Laureen was 27 weeks pregnant. A year later to the day, they welcomed their second son, Luke William. Their boys share a heaven day and a birthday. So talk about a redemption story. They live in Charlotte, North Carolina with their son and Kitty, their 8-year-old Torty. And I think that's a reference to a type of cat. Laureen can expand on that. Adam serves as president of a family-owned and operated auto parts franchise, and Laureen founded a nonprofit that provides free access showers to homeless men, women, and children. They have a deep desire to help others obtain a healthy family of their very own, and are busy helping us in the Family Reformation Project. They're on the back end of the business to reach more families in need, and we are just thrilled that they've agreed to come on and be our guest today. So welcome, guys.
And there they are.
Hi. Gosh, we were tearing up over the Liam and Luke, and then the kitty comment. And yes, Torty is a type of kitty cat.
Thank you. Yeah, we're not so great pet people, but we know that she's a valuable part of the Sherwood household.
Indeed, she is.
Well, we start off all the time with the basic question. Tell us about your family.
Go ahead, sweetheart.
Well, yeah, thank you, Leslie, for the great intro. So yeah, we've been, married about 3.5 years now, and it's been rough. You know, we got married older, 30, 39. And so 2 strong personalities, and just we're living life on our own for a while. And so kind of coming together, it was a bit more explosive than I think either one of us had expected. And especially as people who love and serve the Lord. And so, yeah, Randy and Leslie really walked with us throughout many seasons of our marriage, to just kind of really help us, just continuing to point us to Jesus and our identity in him. Who is God? What does he say about who we are? And he's called us to this marriage. And like, what does that mean? Right. And choosing.
Yeah.
And choosing in. So yeah, so we, like you guys said, we had Liam. Unfortunately, we lost him when I was 27 weeks pregnant. But man, when you talk about Romans 8:28, like in action, that is one of our many Bible verses. I mean, God will work everything together for good.
Yeah.
And literally a year later, we had our son, Luke William. And so, yeah, I mean, God's good. So he's almost a year old, which is crazy. And Liam has been gone almost 2 years too. So, but yeah, it was through that loss, we realized like, all right, we got to get serious about this family work here, about really healing, about digging into our own childhoods, about the good and the bad. What do we want for our son and for our family? And what is God saying to us about family and our marriage?
Yeah.
And so it was really, losing Liam was really the catalyst to that, kind of like lit the fire. And we've just been like nonstop ever since. It's been great and hard too, but great.
I want to just jump in for a moment, and then I want to hear from you, Adam. We walked with you through that, and I can remember when you guys chose, when you got hit with that was a blow, and as it would be for anybody. But I remember you guys choosing to face it and to heal instead of to push it off, ignore it, get distracted. And while that was really challenging, wow, what you have learned, your curiosity in that process of just, okay, God, where are you here and what can we learn? I just want to affirm you guys. That was such a good choice, and you followed that through since. And I think that speaks to why you've been able to, heal and grow. But Adam's hear a little bit from you.
Yeah. I think the main thing I would like to emphasize is, today we're going to talk a little bit about just the importance of community as a weapon. And when I think about that story, it's so important for us. And as you said, we could have chosen to decide. Events like that happen to people all the time, sadly. And some people, they make a choice about what to believe about that, and it sets them down a path of destruction or coping or some very sad stories. And then other people choose to think of something different. And one of the things that we chose was, we don't necessarily understand all this, but we know by the character and nature of God that he is good.
Yes.
He is a good, good father. And we're going to choose to pursue him, for our healing and to see what he has for us through this, and choose to heal. And when I think about community as a weapon, I remember you guys traveling and being with us freshly after it had happened. And I remember one of the things that you all said that was seared in my memory, and it set the trajectory for our life, I think, from that point. And it was, something around make your mission to heal. Before then, it was coming up for us in marriage in a way that we realized there was a lot of work that we had to do that we were just unaware of. And in some respect, we were learning, we were playing around with it. But when we lost him, all of a sudden it was like such a slap in the face, or it just brought about such a sober-minded reality of what things were like, that all of a sudden we got angry in a good way and chose to heal. And it's set this path that we're on now of, healing and stewarding our family, and why we're involved with Family Reformation Project the way we are.
Yeah.
So,
hey, when you said, I don't know if you felt that, but when you said make it your mission to heal, I just felt like the Spirit of God. In a minute or two, what was that mission to heal? What did that look like? Because I think there's people that need to hear that.
Well, I know for us, like Lauren highlighted before, it's, when we got together, we had it was just like a clashing of titans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in short, just like, wow, a very humbling experience. I was like, I didn't recognize I could be that ugly or carnal or fleshly
Yeah.
or just all these different things that lie dormant in my being
That I bring out in him.
that we bring out in one another. And in that, there's a choice to be gluttons for punishment, or there's
Right.
a choice and an opportunity to partner and heal and recognize that, like, you know what, those characters and qualities, they don't agree with God. And there's an invitation to become like him.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
I'll throw in too on that. It's been our experience of you, and honestly our just delight, and I know Father's delight,
Yeah.
that as much as there was that clashing going on, you guys ultimately chose to sweetly surrender to God's way of doing things.
Yeah.
And the fruit that has come out of you because of your willingness to let go and surrender and just do it his way. It's just been beautiful to behold.
Yeah.
And it's that whole thing of surrender. It's a constant thing. I mean, it could be once an hour. It's certainly several times a day, like as parents and certainly in marriage, just like, okay, like I've got to yield to what Holy Spirit is doing in this moment, what he is saying, because my ways only always blow up in my face.
Yeah.
And his ways are perfect and good. So.
Yeah. What were a couple of the things, tools or things that you did to heal?
For me, especially as it relates to Liam, fact story is by far one of the ones that I use often, and my husband has to remind me to use often.
Which is one of our FRP tools, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's amazing. And really the crux of it is, facts are measurable. They are things that actually happen. But or in our case, the fact is that we lost our firstborn son. There are many different stories that we choose to assign to that. And other people that are in similar boats choose to assign to that. And we chose to believe in God's goodness in that. But certainly there were other choices available to us that, and in my darkest hours in grief, that still sneak up even almost 2 years later. The enemy will say, God killed him, God took him, and so it's that story that he tries to implant where it's like, oh, no. Like, I know what's going on here, right? And shutting that down, shutting that flow off and agreeing with the truth. The true story is Satan is the one that comes to kill. Right. And why the Lord allows some things to happen, we don't know. He's God. And maybe one day we'll get that answer. And if we don't, we have peace with that too. But yeah, so for me, fact story has been huge.
Good. Adam?
I remember about that time, that's when we got involved in family school. And this is not meant to like be a plug. It's just our authentic life. Like we got involved in the crux of that because of just the biblical groundwork is really this recognition to like our ways, they don't work out so good.
That's so
God's ways, learning, how do you think about this? Like, what are your ways around this? Learning that, and this repentance, which is really a recognition of like, man, my way doesn't work, and coming back to God and saying, how do I get in agreement with you through my thoughts, my being, and my lifestyle, my words, every aspect of my being that it resonates with you. And that's what I really appreciated about that experience. And then from there, I mean, the big thing again was all of a sudden, when you say yes to something like that, and so many other people were involved, it attracts other like-minded people on that same pursuit, and being involved in that community of people who love God, are for marriage and for family, have been one of the greatest benefits that have helped us on our journey.
Yeah.
So good. So we're going to go ahead.
I was just going to invite him to talk more about that community.
That's exactly. Let's go to a break first. And when we come back, I'm going to ask them to really dig into what is community as a weapon. But I tell you, if you are out there, I just feel this is for somebody that's listening, and you're hurting in your marriage. I'm telling you, here's a couple that has demonstrated that doing things God's way, like you said, you guys, can heal and can restore. And I want you to share more about the role community played in that in a moment, but right after this break. Introducing the Family Digital Bundle, a powerful collection designed to transform your family's journey towards healing, growth, and thriving.
At the heart of this bundle is the best-selling book and workbook, The Family Legacy, Shaping Culture from the Inside Out, written by Dr. Randall Bixby.
With insightful wisdom and practical advice, these resources offer a roadmap for building a strong family legacy that shapes the culture of generations to come.
But that's not all. Our Family Digital Bundle includes an e-course, over 9 hours of how-to videos, equipping you with practical tools and expert guidance to help your family.
Imagine your family, a place where love, growth, and connection come together. Isn't it time to build a better family? If not now, when?
Invest in your family. Order the Family Digital Bundle today by clicking the link below or visit our website, thefamilyreformationproject.com. Welcome back.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we want to hear more about this healing community. And what's your message for our listeners today?
Well, I'd like to start off with something that Randy mentioned earlier in our time together. And he talked about isolation today. And I think one of the things that really stands out to me is that verse that says, the enemy prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And one of the things that I know we observe a lot today is, while people are more connected today through things like social media and this, they're actually more isolated by and large than ever before.
Yeah.
Something I often ask when we're just regularly interacting with people is like, who do you talk to around the challenges that you're experiencing? Who do you go to confide in or ask for help? And sadly, a large majority of people I hear are like, I don't have anyone. And our experience has been, this other thing, or as we look again to the word and, what God says and how he thinks about, in there, he's all about community. He's all about family, which we won't go into the weeds about. But one of these just precepts that we live by is we are the community we keep.
Yeah.
And we've learned simple things like, if your marriage is struggling and you're hanging around other people who are divorced and or don't maybe value marriage, or, they're not for it, or godly values, that's a very slippery slope, conversely, to being around people who are for family, who are, do love godly values, that are going to encourage you and help continually point you to God to give you the greatest likelihood of success.
Yeah.
Those are some of the pieces, and maybe you could speak a little bit more to what are the ingredients one would look for in a healthy.
Yeah. To his point, he mentioned, right, for us, it's quality over quantity. So when we talk about community, it's not, you're friends with your whole neighborhood. And then when you go to the office and you've got all these different things, and actually, when you look up the word community in the dictionary, a very interesting word pops out to me, and it's unified. And so that really speaks to us. It's not just having, right, any random community with any Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's, are you unified first and foremost in believing the same values, for example? And that could be, whatever that is. And so for us, it's, to his point, are we in community with people who value marriage, so that when we are struggling, we're talking to these people and receiving counsel and prayer, and it's not the world's standards of, well, girl, do you just leave because it's about you, and if you're not happy, and it's like, well, we don't need to hear that. We're already bombarded with that, and that is not God's message for marriage and family. It's not about me first, right? It's about holiness, not happiness. And it's great to have happiness and joy, of course, but it's so for us, it's really it's the quality of the people. And we're also not talking about shallowness in relationships either, right? Another message of the world is, nope, you keep up with the Joneses and you got to look like you have it all together. And if your world is falling apart, well, you keep it behind closed doors. You don't bring it to work. We don't talk about it on the playground. And we're just like, that is garbage. And to be honest, that message is even preached in some churches too, and not necessarily preached, but demonstrated. And it's very dangerous to me. So for us, we're like, no, we want to get in the mud with people who want to get in the mud, and hey, this stuff is hard sometimes, and we're figuring it out, and we're always going to be learning until the day we die. And so who are the people out there that are also just as vulnerable, can be vulnerable, make that choice, authentic and real. Like, so it's, for us, it's about, our community is very small, but man, like we are unified together in godly values when it comes to marriage and family and prayer and support. And yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, we talk a lot, right, in the family work that we do together about, God's design, just doing it His way. And His way is, how can two walk together unless they agree?
Right.
And it's a rhetorical question. They can't, whether that's marriage or friendships or in community. You're so right that, what are the values? What are the worldviews? What are the, right, that we're all going after together, and that we really don't, we get accused a lot. I don't know, accused, that's a strong word. We get perceived. People experience us very serious. Like, for us to have a real cursory conversation is like, it's not very, but we really both in disclosure and vulnerability, like you guys said, but also in really getting to know someone and what's real for them, and what's God's doing, and what are the challenges. And so I love what you're saying about community as well. For somebody who doesn't really know, they say, you know what, I know I'm missing community, I feel alone. What would you say to them about what steps to take to get to the place where they're experiencing community as a weapon?
My first piece of advice would be to ask Holy Spirit. I mean, sincerely, the community we have today is multifaceted, and there's lots of different, like, little micro communities that we demonstrate now. But it didn't begin that way. It began first with, like, you know what? I feel like Holy Spirit is always wooing us. He's always inviting us. And a lot of the times we discount the small invitations that end up setting us on a trajectory that lead us to somewhere, like, quite grand. So, like, for me, it started out in the beginning. I remember, even just like we talked about in the opening, just as an example, I had a deep desire for community. And I remember when I initially met you, one of the ways I started was, in a coaching relationship, or it doesn't matter. It could be a lot of different things. I remember when I was thinking one time about, like, the Lord introduced me to these concepts about people who are intercessors for business or people or something like that. And I started asking the Lord early on, like, wow, that really resonates with me. Would you show me more about that? And He ended up bringing someone into my life. And I just knew by the Spirit when the time came to say yes. I didn't know what it was going to look like. It was kind of off the grid. It wasn't the normal type of thing at the time. But we said yes. And to the day, that was actually one of the people that introduced me to my wife, and has become one of my very closest friends, and has walked with us on our journey. So that would be, we could go on more, but for sake of time, those are some simple, just practical things people can do.
And I would just say, to add to that, stand firm in your convictions and your beliefs, and also be open. And what I mean by that is, I remember being in my early 30s and still single, desiring to be married, and being in community with all single women. And it was great, right? And my thinking at the time was, well, I'm single, so they're single, and we've got all this in common, and that's great. And also, though, if I wanted to be married, where was the community in my life of people that valued marriage, that were married, right, that could mentor me? And that kind of thing. And so, another thing that's important for us with community is recognizing, like, there's wisdom and impartation from anyone, regardless of age or life stage. And so we've got, friends all throughout the spectrum that we value. So just remain open, as you're seeking Holy Spirit. I think that's great, and what He might be highlighting to you. Like, well, they're too old. What do they know about my life and the times now? You'd be surprised.
Love what you shared there, Adam. It's so funny. And we say this a lot too. Like, ask the one who knows everything.
Yes.
That's the place to start. There is an order and a posture to this life. So let's begin by asking the one who knows everything. Yeah. So you guys have so much more. These guys are a wealth of information and testimony. I'm sure we'll have them back on at another time.
Oh yeah. I just said, say something about your role with the FRP and what you have the from your purview, what's God doing there? And if people wanted to get in touch with you, how would they?
I would say, Will, in broad strokes, with my background being in business development, and our family, we have our own business. That's my skill set. And when we got involved with this work, we wanted to do it for ourselves first. And also, as we just dove deeper into the rabbit hole per se, we just really the global mission deeply resonated with us. So we decided we wanted to take our skill sets and come alongside and help nurture that and grow. We really felt God wooing us into that because we just believe in that so much for ourselves, and we want to give that, be a conduit of that for other people. And so we're coming alongside doing, at least speaking for myself, more so the business development. How do you architect the business to serve the mission and things like that? And so, but we're very happy and excited to be involved.
Yeah, I started a nonprofit, so I guess there is, some knowledge that was learned there, but just really happy to offer my encouragement. And, sometimes I struggle with like, well, what am I good at and what am I offering, but here we are, right, with an updated website and, working on our social media presence and just the back end, and really being intentional with communication with our own FRP tribe. And so, just really here to help to spread this global movement. We believe in it. It has worked. We have put all of these protocols into practice in our marriage. And while we mess up a lot, I mess up a ton, we know we've got the tools in our tool belt, like the right tools to pull out when we're struggling. And so we believe in this work like nothing else. And if we can even help one other struggling family really see what God has for their family, like we're all about that, all about it.
You guys are just amazing. And I mean that. That's not a flattery or an exaggeration. I remember Laureen tested as, the ideal one in 1,000 administrative personality types. Like, this is the one. I probably shouldn't say that now. Don't steal it.
You can't steal Laureen.
They won't.
And Adam, just his faithfulness and attention to detail with all of us fast runners is such a key part of our team and what you build. We remember just the Lord saying to us, invite them into this. And you prayed and you said, yes, we're so glad you did. We're so much better together, and what God is doing, we get to share in the all of it, the good.
And it's a 1-year anniversary this month.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Wow. Time for a raise, I guess, right? So, Hey, listen, if you want to learn more or talk with Adam and Laureen, reach out to the FamilyReformationProject.com. They're all over that. And you can connect with them. We're so grateful to have you. And just to the point, ask the one who knows everything. If you look down in the description in the podcast, you'll see a link to that very tool, to Rule 51, the listening prayer tool, where you can learn how to do that better through one of our experience modules. So make sure to check that out. We'd love to just sow that into your life. And so that's it for today. And so just remember, whoever wins the family
wins the culture in the end.
See you next time. That wraps up another inspiring episode of Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. We hope that today's conversation has left you feeling empowered and equipped to take action.
Remember, transforming families begins with transforming ourselves. Let's be intentional, loving, and persevere. You're not alone. We're right here with you.
We believe Proverbs 24:3, wise people are builders. They build families, businesses, and communities. Through intelligence and insight, their enterprises are established and endure.
Thanks for joining us today. We encourage you to stay connected with us on social media, join our email list, and learn more about our resources and classes at the Family School by visiting thefamilyreformationproject.com.
Remember to subscribe, share with your loved ones, and spread the word about transforming families. We'll see you on our next episode. And remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end.